2025. With us today, we have Alderwoman Smith, Alderman Bug, Alderman Nunez, Alderman Seville, and myself, Alderman Franco. First item is 250943, approve the minutes from the Public Health, Safety, and Transportation Committee
So moved.
meeting held on
Second.
November 12, 2025. We have a motion by Alderman Smith, second by Alderman Nunez. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0.
So, Chairman, before we go any further, I'm going to ask you a question I doubt you think you can answer, but I'm going to ask it anyways. There's a lot of meetings canceled for this particular committee, more than any other year I can ever imagine. Are we missing some things? Do you have any idea what's going on? I mean, we're down to having like one meeting a month, and it should be, if that. I mean, last time we met was November 11th.
So I would say your assumption earlier on that I don't know the reason for that is correct. I'm not sure if there's nothing going on that's suitable for our committee. So I don't know. But I leave that to the administration to bring that forward to us. So, I mean, I can find out, but you're right. Typically, we don't go months at a time without having, as a matter of fact, we had a meeting just to approve the minutes from a month before because there was an expiration date on that. So I could look into that.
Which we don't really like to do because it doesn't feel like the right thing, but we have to.
Well,
according to our
right, and
ordinance,
we would
have
always
to.
cancel a meeting, we didn't have anything unless we're mandated to have
Yes.
it, and that one we were mandated to have it, so.
right, well,
So we'll
maybe-
see, maybe the new year we'll have
maybe
some more
if the
stuff
new
in
year,
along, so
we can
we'll take a
into
look.
that.
You know, whenever you have a new administration, there could be some transitioning type of things that they're not aware of, so maybe as they get more comfortable, we'll see more,
Okay.
so.
All right,
But
good
I could
point.
take a look at that.
Good point, thank you.
Okay. All right, so we have the approval of the minutes. Clerk, do we have anybody from the public wishing to make a comment?
No one has signed up.
Okay. All right, first item on the agenda, 25-0968, a resolution to accept the bid from Enterprise Leasing of Chicago, 1050 North Lombard Road, Lombard, Illinois, for a 3-year vehicle rental agreement for the Aurora Police Department is going to be held. They're still working on some contract issues, so we'll deal with that at a later date. Now, we'll move to the second one, which is 25-0995, a resolution establishing the maximum number of Class B on-site consumption liquor licenses unofficially related to application from Rulin Food Service at 115 Oak Avenue, Aurora, Ward 2.
Good afternoon, Jennifer Stallings, City Clerk, and I have with me Carlos Hernandez. Carlos is the new owner of, well, he will be at beginning of the year, of Rulin's. He's currently a partial owner. They, back in the middle of this year, actually, they did change ownership over a little bit. He took over 34%, and Carlos will now be taking over 100%. Yep.
Questions or comments from the council for Mr. Hernandez?
Chairman.
And you've,
Alderman Smilk, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. And you've run these types of businesses before? And
Yes.
could you explain a little bit more about your background?
So, me and my family, we're purchasing the business. It's gonna be another family-run business. So I work in a different catering company for 7 years. My dad has worked at the same catering company for 10 years prior to that. So we are, we're gonna be running the business. My sister, she works there full time with my dad. Yes, we have a little bit of experience in the restaurant and catering business. My mom also is gonna be, working at the business. So she right now works for Egg Harbor Cafe. She will be transitioning to work with us as well.
Great. Well, there are, sometimes the sixth ward represents Rulins and sometimes it doesn't because of redistricting. Currently, the second ward is your alderman, and I'm a couple blocks away, but I have a history with the Rulin family, and some of them actually live in my ward as well. And it's a great history, and I'm glad to see you're going to be continuing that and building upon that and making it your own. So we're really excited about what you're going to offer the community, and we wish you well.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank
Alderman
you.
Nunez.
So I've been a lifelong customer of Rulin's. Having grown up in Aurora, your guys' beef sandwiches is something we would have on Easter Sunday quite often, and the Hawaiian rolls. So as long as you don't touch the beef recipe, I'm totally okay with this.
No, we keep it the recipe, yes.
Also, you guys' lunch lunch offerings are phenomenal, so congratulations, and I'm looking forward to you continuing to grow the business.
Sure. Thank you
So
so much.
moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Alderman Smith, second by Alderman Nunez. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? And it passes 5-0. Thank you and good luck with everything.
Thank you so much.
All right, the next item on the agenda is it's 251003, a discussion pertaining to traffic parking studies and street signage. Alderman Bug, are you going to be kind of lead on this?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for the earlier question, Alderwoman Smith, and it pertains to what we're going to be discussing today. I had a discussion with the Chairman Franco, about not only the fact that we have not had very many agenda items, but I was driving through my ward and I saw a new sign up for a physically challenged person. And I did not know about the sign. Someone emailed me about the sign. And going back a number of years, these types of sign and parking issues would come to an old committee called Government Operations. And when that kind of morphed away and we came into our new structure, signage was still under safety. And I remember Ken Schroth came some time ago and asked us from engineering how we as a body wanted to handle the signage. In government operations, every single sign in the city was approved. So every single sign had an agenda item. Traffic engineer, if you remember Eric Galt way back, he would come forward, tell us about what was going on, either with the parking or the signage, and we would vote on it. I mean, every single sign, we knew what was going on. We kind of moved the other direction and said we're going to give engineering more leeway, I guess, not be so much hands-on, but we would still be notified as a ward alderman when something was happening in our ward. I don't know if in the transition, of course, Mr. Schultz moved on to warmer pastures. We have a new crew in there. I don't know how that transition happened or what's happening, but I know that we are not getting the type of information we're supposed to receive about the signage happening in our wards. Not that we would go through each one individually, but at least to know, and then if we had questions, we could ask, we could have them come here and present on an individual matter. I know their traffic engineer is doing a big parking study in my ward right now in a certain area. We used to, as a body, sit here and ask questions about those things. So I think the pendulum has swung way the other way. So we don't tackle each individual sign, and now we may not even get information about a sign until a resident emails us. The sign's there, why is it there, who asked for it, and what are you doing about it, Mr. Alderman? And right now the answer is, I didn't even know the sign was there, and that's not a good answer. So that's the reason I wanted to bring this forward. I thought Mr. Anderson would be here, but possibly he got tied up. He sent over the ordinances to us, just the general parking signage things, but this isn't really about the ordinances themselves. This is more about us, what we as a legislative body ask for to come before us so that we can review and be informed. So just wanted to have that discussion, and I'll turn it back over to you.
So in my opinion, because I was on a GO committee before, and I didn't think it was a burden for that to come through us. I don't know that if we have, this is my opinion, I don't know that if we have signage going in a ward and it comes to our committee, that once our committee understands it or approves it, even if we have to go that far, that it has to go beyond the committee. It could stop at the committee. Or we could do like you were mentioning too, just give us a heads up, and if we have a problem with it, maybe then we just say, okay, I'd like to have further information on it, because we could go ward by ward, so we don't even have to bring it to committee. But what you mentioned about having knowledge, that's a minimum. So I guess the question is gonna be, how do we want to get that knowledge, and how procedural do we want to be with this going forward? Does it need to come committee? I would suggest if it comes here, it shouldn't need to go to COW. Now, if there's something in the first ward alderman's not here, he should come to the meeting if we're gonna go that way, just so they know. But I can go either way personally with that, as long as there's knowledge of that. So I would open it up to my colleagues to see, what you think about that.
If I may?
Sure.
Yeah, yes, I think, first off, Alderman Bug is correct. The way the old committees were constituted, the Government Operations Committee did, was referred all this information for the signage. In fact, back in the day, before another change was made, not only did everything go to the GO committee, but so did stop signs and yield signs, and there was actually a vote recommending for approval or disapproval, forwarded to the committee of the whole, and the city council actually voted on every one as well. And so that was a slow change over the years, the way it developed, as well as stopping at GO and then disappearing. So we've gone the gamut, really, from having maybe too much oversight and not enough. And so anything that we can have that would be informative to the aldermen and thereby the constituencies that they represent is helpful. So we have knowledge when people inquire about it, and it's not a surprise, and we don't have to go out of our way to do research. We would already know that, and I think it's helpful for sure. And back in the day, Sergeant Gumbs was a traffic engineer from the police department. That's where that was in the beginning. So he did all the studies and analysis and recommended that to us. So, but there was actually votes taken in battles, were had literally between, well, do we want a stop sign here or yield sign or not? It was an interesting process back in the day.
Well, and before I give it to Alderwoman Smith, I will comment on that, because as I'm thinking about it, like right now, I'm like, I kind of want to know what's going in other wards, because if I ask for something, or somebody wants something, and it was already shot down from another ward, I kind of want to know about that, so I don't make the same mistake, or I can approach it a different way. So there is a lot to that coming, at least to this. Alderwoman Smith?
Well, that's exactly what I was going to bring up as we talked about it, stopping here. I think, first of all, I agree with what all of you are saying. I've had signs come up missing too, and just got taken down just because when you ask, you inquire. So I think that we do need to get a better handle on this. But also, I think if we should send it to COW for information only, because I do want to know what's going on in your ward, and I want to know what's going on in your ward and your ward, because you may have something that I think, oh, that's a really good idea. I've had somebody inquire that. So I do think we need to kind of at least keep it for information only. It doesn't have to go any further than that. But who do we talk to? Is this the engineering department that we bring back in on this, or how do we get this back on the docket so that we can?
Well, it would go through engineering, but the street department would be in charge of that, because they make the signs and stuff like that. So, I mean, now that we're actually talking about that, I think all these are really good ideas, because COW should have the informational, because you want to know. And I don't believe that there's so many new signs going up that it isn't going to be a burden. It just isn't. We have so many signs out there now, you might even have more signs being taken down than being put up. So I certainly don't think it's going to overwhelm us at all to have that knowledge. I think it's probably a good thing to bring it back to this committee. So I would agree with some of that, Alderman.
And in further answering Alderwoman Patty Smith's question is, with regard to Rupa, the traffic engineer, she would need to be a part of that and be invited to the committee as well, explaining her rationale for approving a signage or not approving the signage.
Right.
So I think that we would need to hear from her as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, there is a second traffic engineer now, Mr. Anderson.
Right.
And I don't know, possibly everyone has not dealt with him. I just had to deal with him because we have a parking study going on. So, of course, streets is under engineering, the big engineering umbrella. And I see that Ms. Cameron wants to chime in very, very quickly here. And-
Just before we go any further, though, to add to what we were already talking to, as well as putting them up, we should also be informed if they're being taken down.
Yes,
Because
right,
that's
yes,
problematic
right,
as well.
Yeah, I've had a couple residents reach out to me regarding signs that have just
Oh.
been taken down.
Yeah.
And I personally spent, I think it took us about 4 months getting signs on one street in my ward. So I would appreciate another avenue that we could use to try to discuss these matters, so.
Right. Shannon, would you like to
Cameron.
speak on that?
Yeah, Shannon Cameron, Chief of Staff. I was just saying that I will email Engineering and the Streets Department and have them maybe come to the next PHST meeting, talk about, just a kind of broad view of those concerns, both going in, coming out, traffic studies, things like that. And then they can have Adrian here as well to talk about just the implications and maybe you'll have more specific questions about what processes we can put in place. I don't see a problem with that.
And if you
Yeah.
could you make sure that the next meeting is not until February? Because we've been, I'm being sarcastic, because we haven't had so
Yeah.
many meetings, right? So we need to have more meetings, but I'm even if that was on the agenda, we'd be there, but.
I would suggest, holding this so we can bring them in for next meeting, and it should be in January. Yeah,
Yeah,
it should be in
January,
January.
okay,
So
okay.
I don't think, but yes, yeah, we can make sure, as long as there's something on the agenda.
So I guess I would get a consensus from the group that we would like to have engineering talk to us. We would like a system where it comes through at least here, and maybe, information only, that would be our minimum, so we have knowledge of what's going on, both putting them up and taking them down. We kind of be in agreement with something along those lines?
Can I ask one more question?
Yeah.
Well, and
okay, I don't-
it's two aspects to it that I think. The parking studies and the signage. Because, of course, you can have parking studies that don't necessarily involve signage. Signage is maybe your end game. But various parking studies and, traffic calming and different things that are gonna, everyone's asking for people to slow down. So you talk traffic calming and all those other things. So it's each aspect that, of course, I think the aldermen need to be informed of and kept abreast of.
Right. Alderman Smith?
Yes, so I would like to have some conversation about parking studies to see what other wards are doing, because it has gotten a little bit chaotic in my ward. So we'd have some conversation about that. And then a question for any of you have no parking at the 2-inch above snow signs in your ward?
Yeah.
Do you? I'm gonna have to write around. I didn't find any, and no. There's not many around. Yeah, I think that's something that we need to, at openings of communities and stuff, we need to
Sure.
get out there, because I've had a lot of complaints with, the recent snow that we've gotten where the people haven't removed their cars. So if we have some signage going into communities, they don't have to be all over the,
Right.
all over the streets. But I think that would make people, would they see it? I don't know, but at least we could say, hey, it's there, yeah.
Shannon, you have?
Yeah, if I may, Shannon, Chief of Staff. We have identified through these past 2 snow that personally, I said, I don't see a lot of signs. And they're like, oh, they're there. But I think a lot have been hid or whatever the case, have gone down and maybe not replaced. So we are planning to do an audit in connection with our GIS team to see where the signs are and where we need signs. We actually think there's quite a few that need replacement or to just be put up, period. We're still grappling with, as Adrian was here or in front of council talking about the pilot program, whether we're doing every other, side. Which I think we may do for certain communities that do not have other place to park. But other than that, we'd still have the 2-inch, get your 2-inch snow emergency signage. So we imagine we'll have to phase that in, because it will be a heavy lift and cost-wise to get as many as I think we need in the city throughout the wards. So we will be regrouping and presenting that anyway, because we think you all should be informed on that.
So while we're on that topic real quick, do you know if we found out if there's been a lot of people parking on the street that got tickets because they didn't move in the snow? Do we know, if we have any data on that with the recent snowfalls at all?
So I would have to check this most recent snow event. The previous one, just under 600 people were ticketed. So it was significant amount of people. We have identified those problem areas where they just don't have a driveway, or they're a multi-unit building and there's not enough parking spaces. We're trying to identify more of those problem areas and maybe work with community churches or other areas where if they could get scooped early and then people could park there. It's a complicated issue, but the pilot program, hopefully, we've seen other communities that do every other side parking, and that seems to be efficient and useful, and even they do it on non-snow days because that helps with street cleaning. Many larger cities do that with every other, and some even smaller communities like Elgin does that. So we're looking into that as well.
Alderman Seville.
From my understanding, what staff has told me in the past, and I could be wrong, but what I remember is that the reason why there aren't a lot of these signs out because it's a state law. So every community has this. And they've only put it in certain areas of high, like near the entranceways to the city and in high traffic volume areas. So that's the reason why we don't see a lot of these signs up and down, because it's the 2-inch rule is everywhere. It's not just Aurora.
Is it really a state law?
That's what they were told. Now,
Yeah,
like
I can
say,
look-
I could be wrong.
I could look into that. Regardless, our community seems to not know.
Yeah.
So, and I think even though we're doing constant social media, it's a lot of information, and people's like, too long will not read. And so, and sometimes they're like, oh, it's another snow thing, and they don't even look at it really. So it's hard. People also don't read signs really, but at least if they're there in their community, they get used to them, they notice them more. We think there's at least a better awareness that over time that we gain. But nothing's the perfect solution, unfortunately, and this has been a time and true issue for decades, but still trying to find new ways to tackle it.
Alderman Smith.
Yeah, so I know you guys are talking about the parking tickets, and I know there was some complaining about, the smaller downtown streets that were getting a lot of parking tickets. But out by me, where the streets are big enough and people got driveways to be in, there's still parking on the streets, and nobody, to my knowledge, on my side, in my area, was ticketed at all. And there are
Okay.
a ton of cars parked on the streets that have driveways to be in, it could have been in.
Yeah. Deputy Mayor just showed me it was 418 tickets for this most recent snow event. There is also, it's our police, of course, can ticket, but they're usually busy doing other things. So typically it's our property inspection team that goes out and does it. And if it's on the weekend, in the past, they've had a really hard time because we can't force overtime as part of the 3298 contract. However, they do have a younger group that was willing to do the overtime if asked, and so they have come in and done it because they've both been outside of the traditional hours. And so we're limited, we can't cover the whole city, but usually they're covering areas where the plows have said this is a real problem area.
And those would be the more narrow streets. But I mean, we're talking about people who don't have a place to go.
Right, yep.
In my area.
They have
majority
places
of
to
them
go.
Have a place to go, and they still choose to park on the streets, so a few
And-
tickets might be a really good idea.
Well, and people can always use the 311 app to
They have.
notify that is there, and that will get to our property inspection team too.
Alderman Nunez.
Yeah, the only thing I'll add too is, last night at a neighborhood meeting that I hosted, I had Mario Benavides there from the Streets Department, and heavy discussion obviously around the snowfall since we just got 13 inches in a week. And there's a huge concern around even emergency vehicles getting through some of these streets. When you get to the older neighborhoods, fire trucks, ambulances that can't get to where they need to get to. And I mean, one woman shared an example last night of an ambulance having to pull into her driveway to get to another house. And so I think it's great that we're having these conversations. I think the sooner we find a solution, and I appreciate what Chief of Staff Shannon Cameron shared with us, the better it is for all our communities. So I'm looking forward to this. So.
Well, for you, and I know you're new in that area as far as being an alderman, but the AU area, problem area, because they are smaller streets, and you got the kids parking there. It's just a little bit more chaotic there. But so I'm sure you're going to hear some stuff about that. But we had done things in the past because those streets were so narrow, a little bit more than we would have done on a 29.5-foot wide street, which is fairly typical. So, but we're aware of that. Alderman Buck.
Yeah. About the 2-inch signs, I say they are in my area. and it's always an asterisk, my area is only 20 years old. When it was all built up at the same time, they put those signs there, they just haven't been knocked down yet. So they're there in my area, that's the only reason. But to Alderwoman Smith's point, and you answered part of this, Chief of Staff, definitely we are having issues with the parking, and thus a little bit on the lack of enforcement. And I understand if their I don't know if their base is on Liberty now or if it's downtown. If it's downtown and they're going out from there, they're not going to make it out to the Far East Side, especially if they're have some concerns about overtime. They're just not going to make it out that far. I don't know if it's possible to get a breakdown by ward on those tickets. I'd be interested to see. I kind of know the answer, but I would be interested to see where those tickets are happening. I have a lot of unhappy people that, I mean, because we are trying to push out, move your cars off. 90% do that, 10% don't. So the 90% are very upset with the 10%, and then they're not getting ticketed. So we got to move that along.
So I know in the past, I would talk to APD or even property standards about the first snowfall, you gotta be really restrictive. Send a message for the whole winter, because if you have a winter of a number of snowfalls and you don't start putting the hammer down until January or February, they're gonna be like, well, what's going on? If you do it the first big snowfall, then they know the rest of the winter. It's kind of like training them a little bit, and everybody, just like driving in the wintertime. We all know how to drive in this winter, but the first couple snowfalls, you gotta get your bearings again a little bit. So that's the same thing with the signage and the parking, the tickets. You gotta give them a ticket right away, then hopefully you won't have the repeat offenders going forward. So I don't know if you guys have done it, but I always thought hammer in the beginning, and then we're gonna have a better winter. So that was just, and it worked, worked pretty good, so. So I will say from this, so what we'll do is we'll have engineering come in, and to the street department come in, and we'll talk about the signage issue. We'll have a situation on that. And then when we get more information about the parking, then we can address that either with that or going forward. But I think that this is a good discussion today, and these are situations that we should be addressing, and this appears to be the right committee to do that for. So I appreciate you bringing that up. Anything else become before the PHST today?
Move for adjournment.
We have a motion to adjourn by Alderman Seville, second by Alderman Nunez. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? And we are adjourned at 4:27. Thank you.